Love is supposed to feel warm, gentle, and steady. But sometimes it comes like a storm, fast, overwhelming, consuming, the kind of love that feels too good to be true, because it often is. This is love bombing, the art of drowning someone in affection, attention, and intensity, not out of genuine devotion, but as a tool of control. On the surface, it feels like destiny. Underneath, it is manipulation dressed as passion. Today, we're diving into the dark, twisted psychology of love bombing. Why do people fall for love bombing so easily? Because as humans, we crave recognition. We crave to be chosen, desired, adored. The love bomber knows this. They move fast. They flood you with constant messages, endless compliments, grand gestures. They mirror your dreams, your values, your wounds. They say all the right things because they've studied what you long to hear. To the nervous system, this feels intoxicating. It releases dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, the very chemicals of attachment, and suddenly you feel bonded to someone you barely know. This is not love, it is chemistry weaponized. Who becomes a love bomber? Often, it is someone driven by deep insecurity. Underneath the grand displays lies a fragile ego that cannot tolerate rejection. Their strategy is simple: hook you quickly before you have time to see their flaws. Some do it consciously, like hunters stalking prey. Others do it unconsciously, repeating cycles they themselves were caught in. For narcissists, love bombing inflates their sense of power. For avoidant personalities, it allows control without real vulnerability. For others, it is simply fear, the belief that without fireworks, they will never be loved. Love bombing is rarely the end goal. It is the beginning of a cycle. First comes idealization. You are their soulmate, their everything. They put you on a pedestal so high, you begin to believe you are finally enough. But the higher the pedestal, the further the fall. Once the love bomber feels secure that you are hooked, the devaluation begins. The texts slow down, the affection cools, criticism creeps in. You begin to wonder what you did wrong. This is the psychological trap. You chase the high of the beginning, the avalanche of love that never returns, and in chasing it, you stay. What happens to the person on the receiving end? At first, it feels like magic. Finally, someone sees you, cherishes you, worships you. But soon, doubt sets in. The inconsistency is maddening. One moment you are their world, the next you are nothing. This creates what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. The brain becomes addicted to the cycle of reward and withdrawal. Like a gambler waiting for the next win, you stay, hoping the flood of affection will come back. And in that hope, you lose yourself. Love bombing doesn't just work because it feels good. It works because it targets old wounds. If you grew up starved of affection, the intensity feels like water to a thirsty soul. If you carry abandonment wounds, the bomber's obsession feels like security. If you've never been told you are enough, their praise feels like truth. But what is really happening is this. They are playing the role of savior while tightening the chains of control. Love bombing is not random. It finds the cracks in your heart and pours itself in until you can no longer tell where you end and they begin. Love bombing is not romance. It is strategy. Predators use it to disarm. Leaders of cults use it to recruit. Abusers use it to trap. It works because intensity masquerades as intimacy. The bomber doesn't build trust slowly. They overwhelm the senses until resistance collapses. It is psychological warfare disguised as devotion. But illusions cannot last forever. Eventually, cracks show. Their mask slips. Their words no longer match their actions. You begin to see the manipulation for what it is. But by then, the hook is deep. You are bonded not just to them, but to the memory of who they pretended to be. And walking away feels like mourning a love that never truly existed. So let's return to the love bomber themselves. Why? Why craft such illusions? Because underneath it all, they fear intimacy as much as they crave it. True vulnerability terrifies them. So instead, they construct fantasy. They perform love but never risk it. Their lies are not always malicious. They are desperate, but desperation can still destroy. How do you escape the web of love bombing? It begins with recognizing the red flags, the pace that feels rushed, the praise that feels excessive, the promises that feel too big, too soon. True love is steady, patient, grounded. It doesn't demand you move faster than your heart is ready. It doesn't flood you to win you. It walks beside you to know you. To break free, you must grieve not just the person, but the fantasy. Because what you are mourning is not them, it is the illusion they sold you. Love bombing is devastating, but it can also be a teacher. It forces us to ask, what parts of me were so hungry that I mistook manipulation for love? What wounds made me vulnerable to the flood? And in asking those questions, we step into power. Because when we heal the hunger, the bombs no longer work. When we learn to love ourselves steadily, we stop falling for love that arrives like fire and disappears like smoke. The psychology of love bombing is dark and twisted, yes, but it also reveals something universal: our desperate need to be seen, cherished, adored. The danger is not in wanting love. The danger is in confusing intensity with intimacy. So let this be your reminder. Real love is not a storm that sweeps you away. It is a river, deep, steady, enduring. And sometimes the bravest thing we can do is turn away from the fireworks and choose the quiet, slow-burning flame of the real thing. Thank you for exploring this with me. If you've ever been love-bombed, know that it is not a reflection of your weakness. It is a reflection of your humanity. And your healing, your awakening, can transform what once was a trap into wisdom.